next new topic was various interventions by the government, various interventions by the government, okay, by the government to to uh, to we can say uh, to counter the problem of malnutrition, right? To counter the problem of malnutrition in the country, right? Malnutrition in the country. Okay, so what are the various measures which have been taken by the government so far to counter this problem of malnutrition in India? So important topic hai. This is very much important topic, socio-economic, because this is in the domain of economy as well. This falls in the domain of economy as well, right? So that is why, right? So let us try to discuss with this, right? So as we discussed that in this budget, the government has taken a very important initiative, announced a very important initiative which the government is going to take. That is the start of Poshan 2.0, right? So Poshan 2.0 Abhiyan, right? So one is that has been discussed in very much detail, right, in our previous lecture, right? So one thing is that we can say the Poshan 2.0, right? So which we have already discussed in our previous lecture, right? And the second important thing which the government launched, that is the integrated integrated child development scheme. So that's a very much important scheme, integrated child development scheme. This is the second program or a second scheme, right, which was launched by the government of India, right? So we will discuss about that today first. After that, we will move on to the next schemes, right? So now uh, we are discussing about this integrated child development scheme, which is known as the ICDS, right? So this is very important thing, very important topic, right? So please be serious. Sometimes we take that these are the schemes only, these are quite easy, right? So it is not difficult for us to do it, but no, we have to uh, prepare these from the examination point of view, right? Just to know the scheme is a different thing. To prepare a scheme from the examination point of view, that is a different thing. So ICDS, Integrated Child Development Scheme, right? So this scheme was launched in, first of all, launched. This scheme was launched in 1975, and there are six services in the fold of this scheme, right? There are six services in the fold of this scheme. So what are the six services which are in the fold of this scheme, right? The first service is we can say that is the that is the, you can say, supplementary nutrition program, which we discussed in our previous lecture, Poshan 2.0. One is that, right? And the second important thing in this scheme, that is the immunization, right? Immunization, okay? And the third important point, third service in this scheme, that is, we can say the, you can say, health checkup. Health checkup is the next important component of the scheme. And the fourth component of the scheme, or the fourth service in the scheme, that is the referral services. Referral services, okay? So, and the fifth important component of the scheme, right, that is, we can say, the preschool non-formal education. So that is there, okay? So preschool education, we can say, right? Preschool education. So that is the next component. Non-formal education hai, informal education hai, right? So, and the next thing is that, which is the sixth component of the scheme, that is, we can say, the nutrition and health education, right? So nutrition and health education. This is the next component of the scheme, right? So these are the 6 components of the scheme, right? So these 6 services are provided under the scheme, right? So this is important to remember that which of the following services are included in the integrated child development scheme, right? So Anganwadi is also included in that, because preschool informal education, that is Anganwadi, right? So Anganwadi hai, इम्यूनाइजेशन है, न्यूट्रिशन एंड हेल्थ एजुकेशन है, रेफरल सर्विसेज हैं, एंड जो है आपका SNP है, राइट, सप्लीमेंट्री न्यूट्रिशन प्रोग्राम, इट्स देयर. These are the 6 important services which are there under this, right? So now in this it is important to note that these particular services 1, 2 and 3, right? So 2, 3 and 4, these particular services are delivered through the public health infrastructure under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, right? So these 3 services are delivered through the, right, public health infrastructure. Okay, so this is important to remember that the 3 services are delivered through the, right, public health infrastructure under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So these services are delivered through those, right? Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Right? So this is important to remember that there are 6 components. The 3 components are delivered through the public health infrastructure under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So you please bear these things in mind, right? So now the next point is that what are the various objectives of ICDS, right? So now first let us talk about the objectives of the scheme, right? Objectives of the scheme. Objectives, right? So as far as the objectives of the this integrated child development scheme are concerned, right, the first objective is to improve the nutritional and health status of children in the age group of 0 to 6 years, right? So this is very important point to be noted here, that the children covered under the scheme are from 0 to 6 years of children, right? 0 to 6 years of children. So this is important to remember. And what is about them to improve their nutritional, right, nutritional and health standard. So that is the important thing, right? Nutritional and health status is important, right? Is right to mention here. Right? So nutritional and health status. So this is the point here. Okay. So this is one of the objectives of the scheme, right? One of the objectives of the scheme. And the second objective of the scheme is that to lay the foundation, because see, when the nutritional and the health status of a child will be improved, right? So that will serve as a foundation for the future physical, psychological, and social development of the child, right? So the next objective is that to lay the foundation of, right? To lay the foundation of, right? To lay the foundation of, I'm writing here, physical, okay, psychological, and social development of the child, right? Social development of the child, right? So when a child will be healthy, right? When a child will be having healthy nutritional diet, right? Healthy nutrition. So then automatically his the physical growth of the child would be proper. And with the physical growth, the psychological growth would also be, you can say, proper, right? And if the child is physically and psychologically well, then obviously the child will take participation in other social activities as well, right, in the society around him, right? So the child will be involved in that also, right? So that means these things are important for the physical, psychological, and social development of the child as well, right? And the next is that and the next is that what is the next purpose, right? The next purpose is if the child is healthy, right, physically healthy, psychologically healthy, nutrition is proper, health status is good, so then what will happen further to reduce, right, to reduce the mortality, right, mortality, morbidity, right, to reduce the mortality, we can say morbidity, malnutrition, okay, malnutrition, and school dropout of children, and school dropout, right, school dropout of children, right? So many of the children leave their schools due to the reason that they are not healthy, or their parents cannot afford to feed them, so that's why they have to work, right? So therefore, right, so if the child would be healthy, then number one, mortality rate would be decreased, right? Mortality means death rate. Second, morbidity rate would be less. Morbidity is affected by the diseases, victim of diseases, right? So that is morbidity. And malnutrition, lack of healthy nutrition, and school dropout ratio, that would also come down. So this is the next objective of this scheme, right? And the next objective is to, because to implement the scheme properly, right, the next most important thing which is required for the proper implementation of the scheme, that is required the effective coordination of, right, so to achieve the effective coordination among, right, effective coordination of policy and implementation, of policy and implementation. So this is important thing here, okay, policy and implementation, okay, implementation among various departments, among various departments to promote child health, various departments to promote child health, okay, to promote child health. So because health of the child is not affected by a single factor, right? So health of the child is affected by a number of factors, right? It is a health related things, right? It is the development of the child, we can say. It is health of the child also. It is the education of the child also, right? It is the sports part as well, right? So it is the other parts as well, right? So that is why we can say effect of the child, sorry, the healthy, right? Uh, for a child being a healthy, right? So it is uh, a function of a number of factors, right? So which includes environment as well, right? Which includes education as well, which includes immunization as well, which includes other diseases of the child as well, right? So number of factors are there. So it is important to achieve a coordination among all those departments or ministries, right? So which departments or ministries have a bearing at least on the development of the child, right? So that is why this is also important purpose or objective of this scheme, right? So the next thing is that one more important as one very much important aspect with related with the child development, right, that is we can say capability of the mother, right, because the first interaction of the child is with the mother only, right? So we can say if mother is not capable enough to contribute into the development of the child, to contribute into the well-being of the child, so then that part, right, would remain weak, and you can say the child at the first interaction point, right, would lose, right, and that effect would remain in his life, right. So that is why we can say the next purpose is to enhance, right. The next purpose is, we can say, to enhance, right, to enhance, we can say, capability of mothers, right, capability of mothers, that is important, to look after the child, capability of mothers to look after the children, right, to look after the children, right, children, regarding what, regarding their normal health, right. Mother should at least have basic information, basic knowledge about the normal health factors of the child, right. So one is the normal health of the child, and second is, we can say, the nutritional needs of the child, right. Second important thing is about the nutritional needs of the child, right. So these are the important points, right. Nutritional needs of the child, right. So because nobody can do it better than the mother herself, right, for her child. So that is why normal health and nutritional needs, right. So we can say that is there. So for this purpose, what is required? What is required? Okay, for this purpose, what is required to provide? For this purpose, what is required there? We can say to provide, to provide the basic, right, to provide the basic health and nutritional education to the mothers, right, to provide basic nutritional and health education, right, to the mothers, right, so that mothers may be able to look after or take care of their children properly. Okay, so this is very important point here. So what are the objectives of the integrated child development scheme, right? So please keep it in mind. The first objective is improve the nutritional and health status of children between 0 to 6 years of age, and second, physical, psychological, and social development of the child, because this thing will contribute into the physical, psychological, and social development of the child. And the third is to reduce the mortality, morbidity, malnutrition, and school dropout ratio of the children. And next is effective coordination of policy and implementation among various departments to promote the child health, right? Next is to enhance the capability of mothers to look after the child, right? So for that purpose, there are two important things. One is the normal health of the child. Second is the nutritional needs of the child. So mother should have the knowledge of the two, right? For that purpose, it is required to provide basic nutritional and health education to mothers as well, right? So these are the basic objectives of the integrated child development scheme. Okay, so I hope this is clear to you. So let me move forward. Allow me to move forward. Right. Hope this is clear to you. Okay. So if anybody has any doubts, you can ask me, please. Right. So, okay. Okay. So one request to you that please turn your videos on. Right. So this is my request to you. And now the next page. Right. I'm moving on to the next page. So as far as the next page is concerned, in this next page, the most important point is that about ICDS further, right? ICDS, Integrated Child Development Scheme, right? So the next point in the Integrated Child Development Scheme, which is very much important, that is that to know that what is the nature of this scheme, right? As far as the nature of this scheme is concerned, we can say that ICDS, okay, ICDS is a centrally sponsored scheme. Okay, ICDS is a centrally sponsored scheme of the government of India. Right? So centrally sponsored scheme means this scheme is implemented right through the governments of the states and UTs. Right. So that means we can say that implemented right? So through the governments of states and UTs, right? So it means the responsibility, right, of the implementation of the scheme, right, of the scheme, right, lies on the governments of states and UTs, right? So this is the important point here, that its implementation, as far as the implementation is concerned, right? So, but the nodal ministry for this is that if we talk about at center level, right? So the nodal ministry, right? We can say that is the Ministry of the Human Resource Development, through which it is entire thing happen. So now the next important point is that in this category, right? So that is there is a five tier, right? There is a five tier monitoring and five tier monitoring, and we can say monitoring and supervision. Okay, monitoring and supervision mechanism. Okay, supervision mechanism at number one, national level. Number two, at state level. Okay, number three, at district level. Number four, at block level. Okay, at block level. And number five, at Anganwadi level. Okay, at Anganwadi level. So these are the five tier monitoring system of this scheme, right? Anganwadi level. So that's the next point, right? So this is there. Okay. So this was about the integrated child development scheme, right? So now the next important point is that, right? Now the next important scheme which we are going to discuss here, that is the National Health Mission, right? So National Health Mission is the next important scheme which we will discuss in the direct interventions by the government to improve the nutritional status in the country, right? So that is known as, we can say, the National Health Mission, okay, NHM. NHM, National Health Mission, right? So now let us discuss about the National Health Mission. So NHM, right? So NHM is National Health Mission, as I have told you just now, right? So now we will discuss that what is there in this National Health Mission, what is there in this NHM. As far as the NHM is concerned, or National Health Mission is concerned, first of all launched, right? So the mission was launched in the year 2013, right? So mission was launched in the year 2013, okay? So it was launched in that year, okay? So please have a look on the slide, okay? So then I have to move further. Hurry up. I hope you must have done it. So now the point is that launched in 2013, and the scheme, right? And the scheme subsumed, okay? The scheme subsumed. Two schemes were subsumed in this. First scheme which it subsumed, that was National Rural Health Mission. Okay, it subsumed that. And the second was National Urban Health Mission, right? So by combining the two, or by integrating the two, right, this scheme was launched in 2013. So please bear this in mind, right? So that is there, okay? So it is under the control of, next point is, it is under the control of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, right? MOHFW means Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, which we have discussed earlier also. Okay, so it is under the control of this ministry, right? And the second thing is that this NHM, National Health Mission, right, envisages to what? Universal access. Envisages to what? Universal access. Okay, universal access and universal access to equitable, right, affordable and quality, right, affordable and quality, we can say, healthcare services, healthcare services. So that's the point, right? Healthcare services that are accountable and responsible, that are accountable and responsible, okay, that are accountable and responsible to people's needs, right? To people's needs, okay, people's needs. So it means this is an important point again. It means to develop such a healthcare system in the country, the healthcare system that should be right. So, what type of healthcare system to be developed in the country? Okay, so according to this mission, right? So that healthcare system should have the following qualities, right? Should have the following important characteristics, right? So what is the characteristic? One is the equitable health service to all, right? Without any discrimination. One point is that equitable health service, right? And the second thing is that affordable health service to all, right? Affordability means at low prices to provide the health services to each and everybody in the country. And the third point is that quality health services, right? Quality health services to be provided, right? Okay. And moreover, the next and the most important point is that to make the healthcare system, okay, to make the healthcare system, right, to develop, लिख लेते हैं यहाँ, to develop the healthcare system, okay, develop the healthcare system in such a way, okay, in such a way, right, that that it that it right should be able to, that it should be able to, right, address the address the people's needs, right? Address the people's needs, right? So it means a focus should be on the need, right? It means need focused healthcare system should be there, right? So okay, so demand side, right? So that should we can say drive the healthcare system. Okay, so that was the point there. So I hope this point is clear to you. This is not much difficult point. Okay, so the next thing is that the next thing is that the National Health Mission includes, right, next point is that NHM, okay, National Health Mission includes health system strengthening in, includes health system strengthening in the rural and urban areas for, in rural and urban areas for, right, for what? To strengthen urban areas for, right? So here the points again, urban areas for, right, that is the reproductive maternal neonatal child, right, for reproductive, right, reproductive, we can say maternal, right, for reproductive maternal neonatal neonatal child, neonatal child, and we can say adolescent health, right? And adolescent health. So this is the important point, right? So इन सभी चीजों को हम abbreviate करके लिख देते हैं. Reproductive, maternal, right? Neonatal, child health, right? Child health plus A means adolescent health. Okay. So now this is important here, right? So here three points have been focused on in the National Health Mission, right? So it means NHM has focused on the right three particular points, right? So one is the maternal health, right? Reproductive maternal health. Reproductive maternal health means those women who are in their reproductive age, right? So that is the point. Okay, those women who are in their reproductive age. Okay, so the point is here, one is the reproductive, okay, maternal health. So one point is this, right? And the second point, which is here, that is the neonatal child, right? Neonatal child. This is the second point here. We can write it here. That is the neonatal child. Okay? So neonatal child. Okay. And the third point here, which is important, right? So that is the adolescent persons, right? So that is the adolescents, we can say, right? So the third person is point is the adolescents, right? So it means the National Health Mission takes into account these three categories, these three groups primarily, right? So one is this, second is this, third is this adolescents, right? So universal access to equitable, affordable, and quality health services, right? So, okay, next, health system strengthening in rural and urban areas for what? For these three things, right? So, I think you must be clear about the adolescent. Adolescent is one person or one individual, right? So, who is between 11 to 18 years of age, that person is known as the adolescent, right? So in portion 2.0 also I told you that during the, we can say, adolescent age, right? The child, the child's physical growth, right, goes at very faster rate, and that is why the nutritional requirements are increased, and therefore at that stage the you can say nutritional requirements must be taken care of properly of the child, right? So that is one important point there. And maternal health, you everybody know, right? Mother's health. Reproductive means the women which are in the reproductive age, right? So next is the neonatal child. Neonatal child is a child, right, between 0 to 28 years, 28 days of age, right? We can say when the child took birth, right? So from that we count it, right? From that we count it. Okay. So let's suppose this is the point of birth of the child. Okay. And this is the point of 28 days, right? So it means from the birth up to the, okay, the 28 days of his life, right? So that is known as the 28 days, right? So from 0 to 28 days, right? So this is known as the, okay, neonatal child. Okay. So it means 4 weeks of the age, right? So that is known as the neonatal. Okay, so please bear this in mind. Sometimes direct questions can be asked about this, right? Now, what is stillbirth? What is neonatal? What is maternal? Right? What do we mean by maternal in maternal mortality rate? Right? What is the definition of maternal? So such type of questions can also be asked to you in your examination, right? So we were discussing about this, okay, about the National Health Mission, right? So we can say some targets under the National Health Mission, right? So some targets under the National Health Mission, right? So what are the important targets under the National Health Mission? So one is the target about the MMR, maternal mortality rate, right? So one is that point. Target is about the MMR, maternal mortality rate. So one is that point. And the second is target is that of the IMR, which is known as the infant mortality rate. Okay. Target is about the infant mortality rate, which is known as the IMR. Okay. Infant mortality rate. That is there. Okay. And next is the total fertility rate. In this, the third point is that is the TFR. TFR is the total fertility rate. Okay, so these 3 points are have been mentioned there in our this we can say scheme, right, which is the National Health Mission we can say. Okay, so in this point, first of all, let me tell you MMR, maternal mortality rate, right? So it means right per thousand death of mothers, right? And now which mothers do we consider here, right? So, okay, so right number of deaths of mothers per thousand. So this is very simple language. This can be said, okay, per thousand. So this is, but here mother, right, which fall in a particular category only, that is considered here, right, not all mothers, right? So now, what is the definition of mother here for the maternal mortality rate, right? Mother here for the maternal mortality rate, right? Okay, so let me take it, right, that mother, right, means maternal, right, maternal mortality, right, maternal mortality, okay, according to WHO, according to WHO, refers to refers to the number of per thousand, okay, number of per thousand, okay, deaths of mothers, deaths of women कर लेते हैं, deaths of women, right, during their pregnancy, during their pregnancy or within 42 days, right, within 42 days after the delivery of birth, right, after the delivery of birth, right? So this is known as the maternal mortality rate. So please bear this definition in mind, right? So let me make it easy for you, right? So here is, let's suppose the I'm writing here as a DOP, right? Means date of pregnancy. I'm writing here, right? Uh, and uh, and let's suppose, right? So here I am putting the point here, right? Here I am putting it. It means here that is the date of delivery of child, right? So let me write here date of delivery of child, okay? And here let me take the time of 42 days after the birth, right? Time of 42 days after the birth. Let me take it here, 42 days, right, from the date of delivery. Okay, so this point is there, right? So it means this point which we are taking here, right? So that means this point which we are taking here. So this is the point of 42 days from the date of birth, right? And this is the point from date of pregnancy up to date of delivery, right? And we can say this, right? This we can say entire period, right? Death of a woman during this entire period, right, is counted for the counting of a maternal mortality rate. Okay, so death of a woman during this entire period, right? Women during this entire period is counted for, okay, is counted for the maternal mortality rate. Okay, so please bear this in mind, right? I have made it very simple for you. Okay, so 42 days, right? So that is important here. So this is according to the WTO, right? One thing is that here. And the second thing which is there, that is the, we can say, infant mortality rate, right? So first of all, let us define an infant. What do we mean by an infant, right? So infant means, let me take here again, right? Infant means, right? Here is the birth. Okay, infant means, let's suppose here is the birth, okay? Here is the birth of the child, and this is a period after the birth of the child, right? So let me take here, this is birth, okay, birth, and this is the period of 1 year after the birth. 1 year after the birth, it means death of a child before the completion of 1 year, uh, sorry, a child from its birth up to the completion of 1 year of age is known as a infant, right? So we can say infant is a child who has not yet taken, who has not yet completed 1 year of uh, age, right? So that child is known as an infant, right? So it means infant mortality means the number of children, right, who die before seeing their first birthday. So those are called the infants, and the death of those children per thousand, that is the infant mortality rate. Okay, so we can write it here that infant mortality rate means IMR. Infant mortality rate is the number of right, infant mortality rate, we can say, is the number of children, right, is the number of children died, right, is the number of children, uh, yes, is the number of children, right, died before seeing their first birthday, right, before seeing their first birthday, okay, first birthday. So, or within 1 year of their age, right? So those are called the infants, right? So this is counted, right, per thousand of live births. So this is again important here. This is counted per thousand of live births, right? So now, what do we mean by the live birth here, right? So would anybody be able to tell me? Because as far as the birth is concerned, right? So there are two types of births, right? So one is known as the stillbirth, and second is known as the live birth, right? So these are the two important things, right? One is the stillbirth, okay, and second is, we can say, the live birth, okay. So these are the two types of things here, okay. So live still means, what is this? Okay, still died born, okay, okay. Right. So now the point is that, right, so stillbirth, right? So according to the standards, or according to the definition by the World Health Organization, WHO, right? WHO. Let me tell you same by the same way, right? Let me draw a line here. Okay, let me draw a line here. So okay, so here it is 1 point, and here it is the next point. Okay, so these are the two important points here which I am taking. So here let me take it the date of pregnancy or date of conception of the woman, right? Date of pregnancy. Okay, so this is that point. And here let me take the next point, right? The period. Okay, sorry, let me take it this way. Okay, so this is, we can say that 28 weeks period. Okay, 28 weeks period. Okay, right? So here let me take the point here that this is the date of delivery by the mother. Okay, clear? Okay, so we can say that right, we can say that the death of a child, sorry, write it this way, right? So it means that we can say the death of a child during this period, that is known as the stillbirth, because when a child gets the age of 7 months, at least 28 weeks means 7 months, right? So then it is not possible to abort the child, right? So then stillbirth takes place, right? So stillbirth means the child is died, the child is inactive, right? Right? Okay, so the child died, right? Sorry, the child, right? We can say took birth as dead, right? That is the stillbirth. But the period counted is important here. An examination that can be asked to you. The period counted is from 28 weeks of pregnancy up between the date of delivery, right? So this period is known as the period of stillbirth, right? Okay, so if a child died during this period, right? So that is known as the stillbirth, right? So but we can say, right, if a child takes birth as a living child, as living being, then that is called the living birth, right? And live birth, sorry, right? And for the purpose of the infant mortality rate, right, we measure the, right, you can say live births here, not the stillbirths. Okay, so please bear these small points in mind. Okay, so right, so if in examination, right, if it is written that here, let me tell you that how the how in examination you can be cheated, right? So select the correct statements, right? Select the correct statements, okay, or statement, right? So first statement is that, right, IMR, right? IMR counted the, or IMR is the ratio, right? IMR is the ratio between, or is the ratio of number of children died, right, before before completing 1 year of age. Okay, before completing 1 year of age, before completing 1 year of age, right, to the right, 1000, right, 1000 total births, right, to the right, 1000 total births, right, total births took place, right? So this is the point. Okay, so this is the point, this is one point, right? So in examination this statement can be there, right? So if this is the statement in your examination, then this is wrong statement, because the word mentioned is total births took place, right? So total births include stillbirths as well, right? So we have to, right, consider only and only the live births. So that is why, right? So what is here, stillbirth and live birth, right? So these are called the total births, right? Total births took place. Okay. So out of these, we can say total births which took place, right? So we are concerned only with, you can say, this type of births, right? So that is why this statement becomes wrong, right? So please note these very small things, very small points, right? So due to this, you may, right, you can say, attempt the answer, the question wrongly there. Okay. So this is the point here. Infant mortality rate is clear, right? So now the point is the total fertility rate, right? So total fertility rate means, okay, total fertility rate means, right, the average number of children born by a female, a woman, right? Average number of children, right, born by a woman, okay, during her reproductive age, right? So this is known as the total fertility rate. Okay, average number of children born by a woman, okay, born by a woman, okay, so during her reproductive age, so that is called the total fertility rate. Okay, so let's suppose, right, let's suppose there are, okay, let's suppose there are 10 women in a society, right? 10 women in a society, and let's suppose, right, there are 10 women. Let me move on to the next slide, right? Let's suppose there are 10 women in a society, right? Let me write these 10 women as this here, right? Here is the woman 1, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, sorry, 8, 9, and 10, right? There are 10 women in society, let's suppose. I'm coming to the point. There are 10 women in society, right? So now what is there? Let's suppose the first woman, right, has given birth to 0 child. Second woman has given birth to 2, third to 1, fourth to 3, right, fifth to 4, and sixth again 0, seventh again 2, eighth again 1, right, ninth we can say 5 children, and 10th again 1 child, right? So now the total number of children born by these 10 women becomes 2 plus 1, 3 plus 3, 6 plus 4, 10 plus 3, 13 plus 6, 19, right? So total number born is 19, right? So the average number of children born per woman, 19 upon 10, that is equal to 1.9. Okay, that is equal to 1.9, right? So I'm telling you, okay, so now beta, this is the point, right? So now let me tell you that what is the relevance of this, right, total fertility age, or why do we consider it important, right? Why this is measured, right? So let me consider this also now. Okay, so that is an important point here. Okay, so now one second. Okay, so now the point is that, see, for a child to bear, right, what is required? One man is required and a woman is required, right? Because we are living a civilized society, so men and women got married, right, to bear the children, right? They make a family, and they bear the children, right? So we are not like animals, right? So random selection is not there in our society. Random selection of mate is not there, right? Every time. So that means there are two persons which are required, right, to bear a child. Okay. So now, if the two persons, right, if the two persons, right, bear two children, then what will be there? Then you can say, right, the population would remain, right, then the population would remain constant. Okay, because दो persons ने दो बच्चों को जन्म दिया और वो दो चले जाएंगे, दो बच्चे रह जाएंगे उनके, right? Population remains constant. Okay, there would be no increase in population at all, right? So now, right, whatever the increase will be there, that will be only temporary increase, right? So population would remain constant. This is the point, right? So it means two children of a couple, right? Two children of a couple, right, would replace their two parents, right? Would replace their two parents, right? So we will say that population is at the replacement level. Okay, so we can say that population is at the replacement level, right? It means there is neither increase nor decrease in population. It is the replacement level, right? Two persons bear two children, and when they die, their children, right, are at their place. So it means in the long run, the population would remain constant of the country. So is it clear up to this point, beta? Hello? Is it clear up to this point? Tell me. Any problem to anybody? Okay. Okay, clear point, clear. Okay, okay, beta, good. So now, beta, the next problem is, now what is the next problem? The next problem here is that there are two important issues to be noted. Number one, all men and women don't marry in society, right? All men and women in society don't marry. So let me write it like this, right? In society, don't marry. Okay, don't marry. So this is the one point here, important point to be noted, right? And second number पे क्या है कि all children, right, who took birth, right, who take birth, right, don't survive, right? So some of the children may die even, right, due to illness, due to accident, or due to some other reason, right? Take birth, who take birth don't survive, right? And third is the all couples, right, don't bear children, right? Don't bear children, right? So some couples may be like that, right, who could not be able to give birth to any child, right? Don't bear children. Okay, don't bear children, right, beta? So now, beta, to compensate these, we can say 3 points of risk, right? To compensate these 3 important points. So what is important there? It should be that that to keep the population at the replacement level, right? The average fertility rate means the total fertility rate has, right? So that should be more than 2, right? Only that we would be able to compensate these, we can say 3 points, right? So it should be more than 2, right? Only then we would be able to compensate these problems, right? More than 2, right? So beta, that is why, right, if we talk about more than 2, then it is said that 2.1 should be the average fertility rate, right? 2.1 should be the fertility rate, right? Means a total fertility rate, means average fertility rate of the woman, right? So that is important here. Only then we can keep the population at the replacement level, right? So if the fertility rate would be at 2 only, then in the long run, the population would decrease, right? Would start falling, right? So, but if we want to keep it at the replacement level, then the total fertility rate TFR, which is said, that is 2.1 considered ideal, okay, to compensate this. Is the point clear? Is the point clear? So that it means total fertility rate is the right number of children, right, a woman bears, right, a woman bears during her productive age. Right? So as far as the productive age is concerned, productive age is 15 to 49 years age. That is known as the productive age, means reproductive age of a woman. Okay, reproductive age of a woman. Okay, so that is considered as a 15 to 49 years of age. That is called the reproductive age of a woman. So please bear this in mind, right? So this is the biological reproductive age, right? It is a separate thing that we don't allow a woman to marry up to the 18 years of age in our country. So that is a separate thing. But the biological reproductive age, that is considered from 15 to 49 years of life, right? So it means here is the, okay, and here is another thing, okay. So let me take these 3 points here. This is the birth, okay. This is the 15 years, okay, and this is the 49 years of age, okay, 49 years of age, and here is the death, okay. So it means what is there, right? So the period between this 15 years to 49 years, that is known as the, okay, fertile period of a woman or the reproductive age of a woman. So this is important to remember here, right? Reproductive age of a woman. Is it clear to everybody? I hope this is clear to all of you. Okay, so, okay. So this is the point, right? So these are the points. These are the various, you can say, targets which are set under this, right? So let me tell you about the targets, right? Let me write the targets here now. Okay, how does 2.1 become beta? It is considered an ideal, right? It is not 2.1. How does come, right? It means on average, right, there should be 2.1 children per woman. Only then we can keep the population at constant level, right? So this is determined, right, with the help of the various studies, taking into account the risk of death of children, right, taking into account the persons who don't marry, taking into account the number of couples who don't bear children, right? So counting all those things, we have determined an age that this 2.1 age, right? So that is the point, right? If the average number of children born by a woman during her reproductive age is equal to 2.1, so then we can keep our population at constant level, right? So if it goes beyond 2.1, then the population would start increasing. And if it comes down from 2.1, then the population would start falling. Okay, so that's the point. Okay, so now beta, what is the target under the National Health Mission? The point is that, okay, what is the target under the National Health Mission? As far as the MMR is concerned, maternal mortality rate is concerned, right? To reduce it 1 per thousand, right? 1 per thousand live births. Okay, so this is that. And about the IMR, right? Infant mortality rate, that is, we can say to reduce to 25 per thousand, okay, of live births. Here live births are taken into account. And as far as the TFR is concerned, that is 2.1. Okay, that is 2.1. So this is the thing here, right? 2.1. Okay, so these are the targets which we have mentioned, right, under the National Health Mission. right? It means to bring down the maternal mortality rate to 1 per thousand, and to bring down the infant mortality rate to 25 per thousand, and to bring the down the or to keep the total fertility rate at a level of 2.1, right? So that is important to remember here, right? And the next thing under the National Health Mission, which is important here, okay, the next thing under the National Health Mission, which is important to be discussed here, right? So that is, we can say, the next important point is, right, National Health Mission. That is, we can say, that is the prevention and the reduction of anemia. Okay, prevention and reduction of anemia. Okay, anemia among women, among women, right? Among women. So in the age of 15 to 49 years, right? So in the age of 15 to 49 years, right? Because in India, many of the adolescent girls as well as the women in their reproductive age, they are anemic, right? They are anemic. So because they are anemic, they cannot give birth to healthy children, and the anemia to a mother, right, affects the you can say, right, our future generation as well, because healthy children are not born to an anemic mother. Okay, so therefore this point is very important, right? So anemia ko reduce karna hai. And next point is that under the National Health Mission, the next point which is important here, that is the prevention and reduction of okay, prevention and reduction of mortality and morbidity, right? Morbidity, disease burden, right? From communicable, non-communicable, from communicable, okay, non-communicable, okay, communicable, non-communicable injuries, and the emerging diseases, right? And emerging diseases. So this is the next right point in this National Health Mission. What is that? To prevent and reduce the mortality and morbidity, right? So mortality and morbidity, sickness, right? From what? From the communicable diseases. Communicable diseases are those diseases which spread from one to another. Those are the communicable diseases, right? Okay. And non-communicable diseases are those diseases which don't spread from one to another, like health problem, kidney problem, right? Liver problem, right? Hypertension is there, right? Or we can say, right? Cancer is there. These are the non-communicable diseases, right? Injuries, death due to injuries also. And the emerging diseases like COVID-19 is an emerging disease now. So इन सब से जो हमने बर्डन ऑफ डिजीज भी रिड्यूस करना है और mortality को भी reduce करना है होने वाली जो mortality से, right? And the next point is that reduce total out of pocket, right? So the next point is that to reduce total, okay, out of pocket, total out of pocket, we can say expenditure on total health care. Okay, expenditure on total health care, right? On total health care. Okay, it means the next target is that how to reduce your expenditure, because in India the problem is that number one is poverty is there, right? Number two, because of number two, overpopulation is there. Poverty, one factor. Second factor, overpopulation. Due to the overpopulation, there are unhygienic conditions prevailing in our country, like we can say slum life, right? There is very much you can say probability of diseases remains very high, right, because of the unhygienic conditions and all, right? So this is the next problem, right? And moreover, the density is very high. If the density would be high, then the spread of the communicable diseases would also be very high, because when more number of people are living in per unit of area, so they will be much closer to one another. If they will be much closer to one another, the chances of contact would increase. If the chances of contact increase, so then the spread of the communicable diseases would also be more there. So that means India is such a country where one, poverty prevails, second, heavy pressure of population is there, population density is higher, due to which the number one, unhygienic conditions, right, bring lot of diseases, and moreover, due to the you can say high density of population, spread of communicable diseases is quite faster in a country like us, and moreover injuries, right? So when the population would be higher, there will be rush everywhere. If the rush is everywhere, then the accidents would tend to happen, right? So that is the next problem. And the emerging diseases, so that is another phenomena, right? So that means in our country there is one problem. Number one, poverty. Number two, health services in public sector are not, right, you can say are not able to cater to the demands of the public, right? Means health services are we can say in inadequate in our country. Those are not able to cater to the demands of the public. So that is why, right, so there is a right, health services available in the private sector, right, are there. One point is there, right? And that is why when a person falls sick, because the probability of falling sick in India is very high, right? So once a poor person falls sick, then there are two, three effects. Number one, right, number one, he could not attend the work, right, during the period of the illness. So what happens? The family income stops. Okay, one point is that, and second point is that person has to spend money out of pocket for his treatment or cure, right? So it means right, so income stops, and the expenditure or the outflow of money from the pocket, right? So that starts in, right, instead. Okay, income stop, outflow starts, right? So that is there, right? So that is also a you can say undesirable, or we can say unpleasant situation. And next is third point is that right, so after recovery from the illness, right, so for a number of days, the productivity of a person remains low, right? So that means the person is not able to earn that much, right, that he was earning before the illness, right? So it means for a right, so it means due to this, right, the chances of financial loss, economic loss becomes very high, and due to that factor, right, so poor are pushed into poverty further, right? The poor are pushed into poverty further. Those persons who are near the below poverty line, though they can be above poverty line, but they are near the poverty line, they are very prone to fall into the BPL, you can say section of population, right? So during the illness or such type of problems, right? So beta, that means what is there, right? Right, so government has to spend a lot of energy and resources to bring the people out of poverty, right, above the poverty line, right? But the diseases or the disease burden again push them below the poverty line. Okay, so that's why the government is thinking that what should be done, right, so that the out of pocket health expenditure of the person should be decreased, right? So for that purpose, right, like a number of schemes have been introduced in our country. Okay, ओके, सो जैसे हमने ये स्वस्थ भारत योजना है, राइट, सो सिमिलरली एक हमने वो जो हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस स्कीम लॉन्च की थी, राइट, सो नंबर ऑफ स्कीम्स आर देयर, राइट, सो विच में tend to reduce the right burden of health expenditure on the citizens, on the people, right? So that is the next important point here in this scheme. Yes, Ayushman Bharat was there, right? So that is the point. Okay, so this is there, and the next point is that that is a we can say reduce annual incidence and mortality from TB by half at least, right? So the next is that reduce, okay, to reduce annual mortality and incidence from TB, okay, incidence from TB, okay, from TB to half of the present level, okay, to half of the present level. So TB is a major disease in our country, okay. So TB affects the lungs, right? So when the lungs are affected, the person remain uh, unproductive, we can say, right? Become very less productive. Productivity of the person becomes very low because the respiration got affected and the stamina got affected, right? So that's why this is there, right? So we have a quite heavy burden of this TB as well, right? And the next point is that reduce the prevalence of leprosy, reduce the prevalence of right leprosy to less than one, okay, to less than one per 10,000 population, okay, to less than one per 10,000 population. So this is the next point, okay, next target under this scheme, okay. So next is the to reduce the annual malaria incidence, right, to reduce annual malaria incidence, okay, incidence to less than, we can say, 1 per 1,000, okay. So malaria cases to be reduced further. And next these are the various, we can say, right, targets, or these are the various objectives under the scheme, right. Leprosy is a skin disease, right? So right, जिसको हम मतलब कोहड़ कहते हैं, कोड कोड हो जाना, कोहड़ हो जाना, right? So the कुष्ठ रोग हिंदी में कहते हैं उसको, okay? So that is leprosy, कुष्ठ रोग, alright, yes, कुष्ठ रोग है हिंदी में. So that is there, okay? So this is about the National Health Mission, okay? So now next to the National Health Mission, we will move on to the, okay, so next to National Health Mission, we are moving on to the MDMS. MDMS is the midday meal scheme, right? This is very popular scheme, midday meal scheme, right? Okay, so this is very popular scheme. Okay. So midday meal scheme, this scheme was launched in 1995, right? Was launched in 1995 at national scale. If we talk about this, right, it was launched then, okay. So it is a world's largest, it is world's largest school feeding program, largest school feeding program, okay, largest school feeding program. So this is there, okay, school feeding program. The purpose of the scheme, right? So what is the purpose of the scheme? Okay, purpose of the scheme. If we see, there are two purposes of the scheme, two important purposes of the scheme. So number one important purpose, that is to increase the nutritional status of the school going children. Okay, one point is that to increase the nutritional status of the school going children. Okay, so nutritional level, okay, of the school going children, okay, of school going children. Okay, so and the second thing is that right, so second may yes, second is the attendance of the children, right, or the okay, attendance of children in school, right, attendance in school, right. So इसमें मैं further points लेता हूँ, right. So इसमें हम कुछ points लेंगे which are important points, right. So one point is that to reduce the school dropout ratio, right, reduce the school dropout ratio, ओके, स्कूल ड्रॉप आउट रेशियो, बिकॉज बहुत सारे बच्चे होते हैं जो ज्वाइन करते हैं बीच में छोड़ जाते हैं, सो स्कूल ड्रॉप आउट रेट, ओके. सो वन पॉइंट इज दैट टू रिड्यूस दैट, ओके. सो नंबर सेकंड इज टू इंक्रीज द एनरोलमेंट इन स्कूल्स. बहुत सारे लोग स्कूल में एनरोलमेंट के लिए ही नहीं आते, राइट. सो दिस इज इंपॉर्टेंट टू एनरोल द ग्रॉस एनरोलमेंट इन स्कूल्स, राइट, टू इम्प्रूव एन enrollment, okay, to improve enrollment in schools, right. So this is the next important point, okay. And the third important point is that is the retention of children in school, right, retention and regularity of children, retention and regularity of children in schools, right, regularity of children in schools, okay. So these are the important purposes of this scheme, right. So इससे दो तीन काम होंगे, एक तो लिटरेसी इंप्रूव होगी एंड सेकंड इज दैट nutritional level would also be increased, right. So here the school going children means, right, so at present this scheme is for children right from first to eighth class, first to eighth standard, right, first to eighth standard. So this scheme is for those students, right. So when it was launched, then it was for the primary students only. Later on, it was extended further to the upper primary level as well, right. So first to eighth standard students are served in this school, right. So what type of schools are covered in this, right. So types of schools covered under the scheme. Okay, types of schools covered under the scheme. As far as the types of schools covered under the scheme is concerned, number one, government schools. Okay, number one, it is the government schools. Number two, it is the aided schools, right? Aided schools, government aided schools, we can say, right? So it is the government aided schools. So schools which are run by the grants from the government or funding from the government. So this is the second category of schools, right? And number three is that is the, we can say, special training centers introduced by the government, right? Special training centers, right? Put by the government, and this is there. Okay. And number four, that is, we can say, madrasas, 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 right? And number five, right, that is, we can say, the schools under the employment guarantee center, right. So employment guarantee center. So if the children are there, right, employment guarantee centers, right. So इसमें above primary बच्चे होंगे obviously, guarantee centers, right. So this is there. So these are the various types of schools which are covered under the scheme. Question can be drafted from here also. Okay, so that's there, right. So now if we go back into the history of the scheme, right. So one line just MDMS I'm taking, right. So it is not a new scheme, right. Even in 1925, okay, during the British period. In 1925, right? So this scheme was there. Okay, this scheme was there, was introduced in right Madras Presidency. Okay, introduced in Madras Presidency. Okay, Madras Presidency for disadvantaged children. Okay, for disadvantaged children. So that was also there, right? For disadvantaged children, this scheme was introduced there also for disadvantaged children during that time. Okay. So the next thing is that then after that in 1980s, right, some of the states of India, right, so right, we can say introduced the cooked midday meal scheme, right, introduced cooked midday meal scheme. Okay, midday meal scheme, right, uh, right, at their own sources, right, at their own sources. Okay, at their own sources. So that was not sponsored by the government of India at that time, but the states started doing that on their own, right? So that was there, right? So in 1980s, this scheme was introduced in the states, right? Like we can say, it was introduced in the states like Gujarat. Okay, Gujarat introduced this in 1980s. One is that, and then Kerala introduced it. Kerala introduced it. Then Tamil Nadu introduced it. Tamil Nadu introduced it. And then we can say Union Territory of Puducherry also introduced this scheme in the 1980s, right? Puducherry also introduced this scheme in 1980s. Okay, so that's there. Okay, so now, but then on 15th of August 1995, right, the government of India, right, rolled out this scheme, right, rolled out this scheme in the country as a centrally sponsored scheme. Okay, so in 1995, the government of India rolled out this scheme in the country as a centrally sponsored scheme. Okay, as a centrally sponsored scheme in the country. So this is again important, right? As a centrally, so we can say this is a centrally sponsored scheme. Okay, so now the next point is that okay, next point is that so under the scheme, cooked midday meal is provided, right? Under the scheme, what is provided? Cooked midday meal is provided. Okay, cooked midday meal is provided to the children. Okay, cooked midday meal is provided to the children, right? So now the next thing is that, right? So what is the quantity of the meal provided? Okay, what is the quantity of the meal provided, right? So as far as the quantity of the meal provided is concerned, so we categorize the students into two categories, school going children. One is the you can say आपका जो है primary level. Okay, one is the primary level. Okay, and second is the upper primary level, right? Upper primary means beyond primary, right? Middle school ka jo hai, right? So as far as the primary level is concerned, right, at primary level, every child, right, need to be provided 450 calories and 12 grams of protein, right? What is required there according to the standard, right? So 450 calories is required to be provided. And then what is there? You can say आपका है 12 grams of protein per child is required per day. Okay, so that is required per day. 12 grams of protein is required per day. Okay, so primary level, right? And for the upper primary level, what is required? That is 700 calories. That is 700 calories are required. Okay, 700 calories and 20 grams of protein per child are required. 20 grams of protein per child are required. So this is what is given to the child under this scheme. Okay, so right, so we can say, so this requirement, if we see at primary level, right, so to fulfill this requirement of this calories and the protein, right, so this requirement is completed from, right, merely, right, you can say that is the 100 gram of rice or flour that is required. 100 gram of rice or flour per child. That's one thing. Sorry, flour. Right, let me do it. Right, rice or flour. And 20 grams of pulses are required for this. 20 gram of pulses for this purpose, right? And then 50 gram vegetables. Okay, 50 gram vegetables per child are required. And then what is there? 5 gram of oil is required. 5 gram of oil is required. Right? So this is the thing which is required because our body needs calories as well. Our body needs protein as well, right? Our body needs other vitamin and other important nutrients as well, right? And our body needs fat as well, because some of the nutrients are fat solvent, right? So those can be dissolved into the fat only, right? So those cannot, right? So accordingly you can work out for the other also, so there is no need to mention it separately. Okay, so now, right, so if you want to do it, approximately 150 gram rice or flour will be there, 30 gram of pulses will be there, and right, and we can say that is 75 gram of vegetables will be there, 7.5 gram of oil will be there, right? Approximately you can, because 456 and 225, 675, so almost 1.5 times of this you can do it, right? So that's there. Okay, so this is there, right? So next important point is that we can say, next important point is that the scheme MDMS is covered by, this is an important point, that MDMS is covered by the National Food Security Act 2013 now. National Food Security Act of 2013. Okay, so this is important again. National Food Security Act of 2013. Okay, so next is that MDMS comes under the administrative control of the Ministry of Human Resource Development, right? Yes. One thing. Please correct the mistake. ICDS जो है, okay, that comes under the control of the Ministry of Women and Child Development. Please bear this in mind. Okay, so that comes under the control of Ministry of Women and Child Development. So that's important. Okay, because थोड़ी गलती होगी मेरे से, Women and Child Development. And as far as the MDMS is concerned, this is covered by the Ministry of Human Resource Development, right? So this is covered by the Ministry of Human Resources Development, means Education Ministry, which is there, right? So that's there. Okay. So now we can say, right? So the next important point is that, so this is about this scheme, we can say MDMS, right? So no need to do much further. And the next point is that is the Rajiv Gandhi scheme for empowerment of Rajiv Gandhi scheme for empowerment of scheme for empowerment of adolescent girls. Okay, for empowerment of adolescent girls. Okay, adolescent girls. So that is the scheme, right? So adolescent girls, I have told you, right? So this scheme is known as a SABLA scheme as well, SABLA, right? So if an examination SABLA is mentioned there, so SABLA means this scheme only, SABLA, right? SABLA scheme is also its name, right? So this scheme was launched on April 1st, 2011, right? As well as the launch of the scheme launched on April 1, okay, 2011. So this is the point that the scheme was launched on this date, okay. So the next is, this is a centrally sponsored scheme. This is a centrally sponsored scheme again, okay, centrally sponsored scheme. And next is, we can say, initiated under the Ministry of initiated under the Ministry of Women and Child Development, Women and Child Development. So this scheme is under that ministry, okay, Women and Child Development. So that's the point here. And the next important point is that the objectives of the scheme include, right? What are the objectives of the scheme? Okay, the objectives of the scheme include. Okay, now what are the important objectives of the scheme? Number one, right? So let us write it. So objectives of the scheme include, right? So number one, it is we can say, right, that is the to reduce or to enable adolescent girls. First of all, what is there? To enable adolescent girls, okay, to enable adolescent girls self-development and empowerment. Self-development, self-development and empowerment. So this is important because health is the primary issue for this development and empowerment as well, right? So this is the point. And the next point here is that improve their nutritional and health status. Improve their nutritional and health status in the country. And the next important point is that that is to provide awareness about, right, to provide them awareness about health and hygiene, okay, about health, hygiene, nutrition, health, hygiene, nutrition, and then adolescent reproductive and we can say social health, right? Sorry, reproductive and sexual health, adolescent reproductive and sexual health, awareness about that also, right? Sexual health, right? So this is known as ARSH, ARSH बोलते हैं इसको, right? ARSH, ARSH means adolescent reproductive and sexual health, right? So it's talking about that. And family and child care, right? So these are the important purposes, right? Family and child care, right? So the next point is that, one point is that to enable the adolescent girls self-development and empowerment of the girls. Second is to improve their nutritional and the health status. And third is to provide them awareness about the health, hygiene, nutrition. These are the three important things, right? And adolescent reproductive health, that is important, and adolescent sexual health, that is important, right? Awareness at that age is very much important. And then family and child care, that is also an important point, right? So the next point is that the fourth point is that to upgrade their home-based skills, right? Upgrade their home-based skills, important point, right? Home-based skills and life skills as well, home-based skills, life skills, okay? And then we can say, right? We can say uh, to benefit them, right? To benefit them, right? To enable them to be benefited by, let me write it like that, right? To enable them to be benefited by, okay, benefited by the National Skill Development Program for Vocational Skills, right? National Skill Development Program, okay, for vocational skills also, for vocational skills. So this is important for the empowerment of the girls, right? So उनको skill provide करनी, home based skill, life skills and skill to make earning also. So that is there, right? So next is the, we can say, to mainstream, right? Or mainstreaming of out of school girls, right? Out of school girls, mainstreaming of out of school adolescent girls into formal or non-formal education, right? Out of school adolescent girls into formal or non-formal education, okay? So that is also required, into formal or non-formal education. So this is an important thing, okay? Formal and non-formal education. So that's a good point, right? So the next thing is that provide information, guidance, to provide them information or guidance, right? Information, guidance, etc., right? About existing public services, about existing public services. Sometimes you don't know about the services, right? That which services are available to you, right? Existing public services such as a primary health center, PHC, primary health center, CHC, community health center, right? Primary health center, community health center, post office, okay, post office, that's there, and then बैंक एंड पुलिस स्टेशन, राइट? सो बहुत सारी लड़कियों को ये भी नहीं पता, राइट, कि मैंने कहाँ जाना है, राइट? पुलिस स्टेशन कैसे जाना है, पुलिस स्टेशन कब जाना है, राइट? कैसे कांटेक्ट करना है पुलिस स्टेशन में। सो ये सब गाइडेंस उनकी एम्पावरमेंट के लिए, उनके बेटरमेंट के लिए ज़रूरी है। सो ये इस प्रोग्राम का पार्ट है, ओके? The next is that package of services to the adolescent girls include, right? So हमारा SABLA scheme is going on, right? SABLA scheme. So under the SABLA scheme, package of services to the adolescent girls include. So what package of services is given to the adolescent girls? Okay, package of services to the adolescent girls, okay, include. So what is the package of services which is given to the adolescent girls, right? Yes, I'm showing better. Note it. I think हो गया होगा, हर्षिता, हो गया बेटा? Okay. So now the package of services to the adolescent girls include. So what type of services are given to the adolescent girls under this scheme, right? So one is that that is the nutrition provision, right? So we are given, they are given the proper adequate nutrition. One point is that according to their age, right? Second is we can say iron and folic acid supplementation, because anemia problem, right, is quite high. So that is why this is required, right? Supplementation, iron and folic acid supplementation, IFA supplementation भी कहते हैं इसको, right? So next is we can say health checkup and referral services, कि उन्होंने कौन सी प्रॉब्लम के लिए कहाँ जाना है, that is referral services, right? So this is the next important thing. And next, nutrition and health education, उनको education देनी है, nutrition and health education, that is the next important point. Okay, nutrition and health education, right? And the next is a counseling guidance. Okay, counseling guidance on family welfare. So that is an important part. Counseling guidance on family welfare, ARSH, right? Adolescent reproductive and sexual health, ARSH means, right? ARSH, child care practices. Okay, so all this information is given to them. Child care practices and home management. So these are required for the, okay, empowerment of a girl, right? So these are the various subsets which are given. And similarly, they are given the life skill education, right? Life skills education, right? And accessing the public services, right? Education regarding accessing the public services, कि उन्होंने कैसे public services को access करना है. So ये भी एक important part है education का. And next is a vocational training, right? Vocational training for girls of the age of 16 years and above. Okay, 16 years and above. So it means it is for those only, the girls who have completed their 16 years of age, right? So only those girls are eligible for this, right? So this is the main thing about this, we can say, scheme. Okay, and this is the important about this scheme. And the last scheme which we will discuss today about this, okay, so vocational training regarding some occupation, right? Like we can say stitching, tailoring, etc. That is vocational training. Cooking, right? So that is home based as well as vocational also, right? So if you want to enter, right? So these are the things, right? And now the next point is, that is the Indira Gandhi Matritva Sahyog Yojana. Indira Gandhi, okay, Indira Gandhi Matritva, MATRITVA, Matritva Sahyog Yojana. Okay, Matritva Sahyog Yojana. So this is the next scheme which is there, and important scheme which is there now. Okay, so now let us discuss about this scheme which is called the Indira Gandhi Matritva Sahyog Yojana scheme. Okay, so as far as this scheme is concerned, we can say first thing is this scheme was launched in 2010. Okay, the first important thing is that the scheme was launched in 2010. Okay, was launched in 2010. Okay, so this is the important point. So okay, so the scheme was launched in 2010. This is the one point. Okay, launched in 2010. This is the one point, right? And the second point is that we can say, right, so it is implemented by the Ministry of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Women and Child Development. Okay, so that's the next important point, women and child development implemented by that ministry, right? And the next thing is that, right, so this scheme is for assisting the pregnant. Okay, this scheme is for assisting the pregnant and lactating mothers or women, right, of lactating mothers or women who are equal to or above 19 years of age. Okay, so who are eligible for this? All pregnant and lactating women who have completed their 19 years of age, they are eligible under the scheme, right? Matrita means mothers, right? So this is for mothers. This scheme is for mothers basically, right? So now what is there? It gives a cash benefit to the mothers or the women, right? It gives a cash benefit to eligible mothers, eligible women, right? To eligible women, we can say, right, for the first two, for the first two live births, right? It means दो बच्चे पैदा करने तक, राइट, इस स्कीम के अंडर यू कैन से बेनिफिट मिलते हैं औरत को, राइट? सो दैट इज द thing, right? So we can say, therefore we can say that it is a sort of a maternity benefit scheme, right? So हम इसको कहते हैं कि it is a sort of a maternity benefit scheme. Okay, it is a sort of maternity benefit scheme, we can say like that, right? So this is that scheme, maternity benefit scheme. Okay, so and what is there in this scheme? What are the objectives of the scheme? So let us discuss about the objectives of the scheme now, right? So the important objectives of the scheme include objectives, right? The first objective of the scheme is that is cash incentive to be mothers, right? Means pregnant women, right, who are expected to be mothers, right? Cash incentives to, right, to be mothers. So that is important, to be mothers and to be mothers and new mothers, so that they may, okay, new mothers, so that they may access to better nutrition and health standard during that time. They may access better nutrition and health standards during that time, right? So sometimes what happens in poor families, right, during the pregnancy, the mother cannot access good food, right, which is required for the health of the mother as well as for that of the child, right? So that's why. Okay, so during we can say health standard during that period, right, or during the period of pregnancy. So that's there. So the next point, the second point is that is the encourage women, encourage women, okay, encourage women to breastfeed, okay, encourage women to breastfeed, right, breastfeed exclusively for the first 6 months, for the first 6 months, and okay, and practice, practice, we can say, right, then best feeding and nutritional standards. Best feeding and nutritional standards. So that is important thing, right? So when the mother is in is in lactating period, right? Even then, lactating period means she is breastfeeding her baby. So during that time also, mother requires a proper nutritional diet, right, and a healthy diet also, right? So the next thing is that promoting better care, okay, promoting better care and better care and service utilization, सर्विस यूटिलाइजेशन. सो गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से जो भी सर्विसेज मिलती हैं उनकी यूटिलाइजेशन की जाए, राइट, इन टाइम्स ऑफ प्रेगनेंसी, डिलीवरी एंड लैक्टेशन, राइट, इन टाइम्स ऑफ प्रेगनेंसी, प्रेगनेंसी, डिलीवरी and lactation. Okay, so these are the things there, right? So it means the very important component of this scheme is that the mothers are given the cash incentive, right? Cash incentive, so that the mothers may use that money, right, for their own benefit, right, for the proper diet, for the proper health services, right, during their period of pregnancy and lactation. That is the point, right? Next is to encourage women to breastfeed exclusively, right, for the first 6 months, because there is the practice that in our country that many of the women, right, don't breastfeed their kids, right? So basically, according to the experts, right, that during the first 6 months of the birth, right, it's very much important for the child, uh, right, to have the mother's milk, right? So that is important, right? So that provides immunity to the child also, that helps in the growth of the child also. So that's why that is important, right? So, and practice best feeding and nutrition for mother herself. Next is promoting better care and positive utilization, right? Sorry, and substance utilization in terms of pregnancy, delivery and lactation, ताकि mother जो भी बेस्ट सर्विसेज हैं उनको यूटिलाइज कर सके, इसलिए मदर्स को पैसे दिए जाते हैं, पेमेंट दी जाती है, राइट? सो यूजुअली द पेमेंट इज ₹6,000 पर मदर, right, which is given in 2 installments of 3,000 each, right? So 6,000 per mother is given, right, which is given in 2 installments of 3,000 each, right? And one more thing, the only those women are eligible under the scheme who have completed at least 19 years of age, only those will be eligible under this, right? So that is about this, all right? So Indira Gandhi, right, Matritva Sahyog Yojana. So today we have discussed a number of yojanas, right, of the government of India. One and the most important yojana which we have discussed, that is the Integrated Child Development Scheme. Second, we discussed the National Health Mission. Third, we discussed the Midday Meal Scheme. And the fourth and important which we discussed, that is the SABLA scheme, right? So Rajiv Gandhi scheme for adolescent girls, we can say. And the last scheme we discussed, that is this Indira Gandhi Matritva Sahyog Yojana, right? So we have discussed all this. Any doubt of anybody, you can ask, please. Okay, if anybody has any doubt, you can raise your doubt, please. Right? So otherwise, please do it in, please bear this in mind, right? So this is an important thing here, right? Important point. Okay, so tomorrow we will discuss other things, right? Important things tomorrow we will also discuss. Okay, so अब अपने अपने माइंड बना लो बेटा, जिसने नो टुमारो नहीं, दैट विल बी ऑन मंडे. ओके, सो हाउ वाज द लेक्चर टुडे? बोर तो नहीं हुए? बोर तो नहीं हुए बेटा लेक्चर में आज? ओके, नो बोर नहीं हुए. अनुराग अरोड़ा, गुड. ओके, गुड बेटा, मुझे आप बता दिया करो, ठीक है, क्योंकि आपके लिए ही पढ़ा रहा हूँ मैं, राइट? एंड बेटा वन मोर थिंग बेटा, अब मेरी आपको सुजेशन है बेटा, अगर आप सच में सिंसियर कैंडिडेट हो ना यूपीएससी के लिए, है ना, तो देन बेटा प्लीज थिंक अबाउट योर ऑप्शनल पेपर्स नाउ, right? And please think about your GS now, because beta, otherwise we are covering in a very, you can say, holistic way, whatever is required for the preliminary examination, right? But beta, I suggest you that जितना अर्ली आप स्टार्ट कर लोगे उतना बेटर है, क्योंकि आपने देखो कोर्सेज तो करने ही अल्टीमेटली है ना, करना तो है ही, है ना। अपने ऑप्शनल भी स्टडी करना है, अपने जीएस भी स्टडी करना है, अपने फर्दर एसए का भी करना है, राइट। और आपने अपनी आंसर राइटिंग प्रैक्टिसेस भी करनी है। एंड बेटा आई सजेस्ट यू दैट if you want to win the race in 2022, then this is my sincere suggestion to everybody. Okay, by December 2021, at least your everything should be complete, right? And from the beginning of the 2022, you should start practicing the tests, revisions, right? Current affairs and everything, right? So make yourself, you can say, strong enough so that right, by the time mm, you will go, for the examination, right? So then you should be fully confident, right? So if you will start at the, you can say, 11th hour, and let's suppose in November, in October, in December, you start thinking about your optional and all, so then it will be too late, right? So then that would affect all the things. So this is my sincere suggestion to you. All right, so you have a proper group also, right? So you can discuss everything in your group, right? Between you also, right? Among you, right? So don't include me in that even. You can discuss yourself also, right? So what is there in your interest, you know better, right? So I can only guide you, and so that is there, right? So sometimes a student don't believe in teachers, right? Thinking that don't know, teacher may have some other interest or anything else, right? So sometimes they may okay thinking that, so that's why, right? So don't worry, right? So I'm providing you this thing, right? Videos are also there. Okay, so we are doing in very holistic manner, right? Okay, beta, then take care. I'm taking leave today. Okay, so we will manage the things all in a good way. Don't worry. Okay, right, beta. So I'm always available for you. Okay. Okay, beta. You also have a great weekend and all the best to everybody. Right. So, right, beta.